Rays to make the playoffs, they must take care of business in the AL East. Tonight, the suddenly struggling Blue Jays come to town, and Rays starter Chris Archer knows that Jose Bautista and the Jays offense are always dangerous. It's the Rays and the Jays right now on Sun Sports. Welcome to All-Star Week here on Sun Sports. Tonight, the Rays open their series versus the Blue Jays here at Tropicana Field. Hi again, everyone, and welcome inside the Trop with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. Great to have you aboard. The Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays square off. Well, the Rays dropped 2 out of 3 to Kansas City. That means there's more pressure this game tonight, and all of them from here on out. Very important and a great matchup. Mark Burley's going to be on the hill for Toronto, and Chris Archer for the Rays back to the middle of May. Maybe nobody better.
Well, and what you love about this series and about this game in particular is Chris Archer wants the baseball. He understands the importance of this game, and he wants to be out there. Look what he's done in his last 10 starts. That 171 earned run average in that time frame, good enough for second in the American League, and he gets it done by just overpowering you. He's going to come in with that mid-upper 90s fastball, that power slider, attack this lineup, and again, you love the fact that he wants this game.
Remember in 09 when Mark Burley threw that perfect game against the Rays? Well, then the following 5 decisions, they beat him up pretty good. But not the case here in the first 2 outings this year.
No, and Mark Burley, one of those guys, the antithesis of Chris Archer, where Chris gets it done with power, Burley gets it done with frustrating you. Both of them very effective, as you can see, against the Rays this year. 2 starts, 2 wins, an ERA of under 2. All very good. The season numbers outstanding. But remember this, there was a time where Mark Burley was 10-1 with a 2.10 earned run average. He's lost 5 out of his last 6. He hasn't pitched that poorly, but he has lost 5 of his last 6. The Rays hoping to continue that trend.
Roster moves with the Rays before the start of tonight's game. We'll have that. Todd Callis comes along in a moment. presented by Toyota. Let's go places. And by Checkers, big Philly flavor, small price. Checkers Philly cheesesteak and the new chicken Philly, each just $1.99. Rays and the Blue Jays squaring off here tonight. Roster moves in the air, and for that, let's go out to left field where Todd Callis suddenly finds himself alone on our set out there.
Oh, what's going on, Dwayne? It was the end of the last homestand when Yunel Escobar started to feel that soreness in his right shoulder. Missed the last game against Pittsburgh. Rays won that. And the Rays went on to a 9-2 road trip before losing 2 out of 3 to Kansas City. So they were 11-4 during the 15-game absence of Yunel Escobar. But now he's back. He played a couple of games with the Charlotte Stone Crabs. You can see his numbers on the year with the Rays. He has hit much better against lefties such as Mark Burley tonight. Jake McGee, the corresponding move. McGee put on a paternity list. Could be back with the Rays on Sunday before the All-Star break. Here's Joe Maddon's thoughts at our Geico quote of the game about getting Uni back in the lineup.
I know we've done a lot of nice work over the last couple of weeks, but in order to sustain that, you got to keep guys fresh and keep them moving within the area that you had predicted early on or how you had planned it beginning-wise. So it's great to have him back, and I anticipate. I'm really eager to see it because I believe he came like flying into the clubhouse today, saying hi to everybody, came in to see me, went to the coach's room. So, again, I'm eager to see him play tonight.
Escobar hitting .350 on the season against lefties, 21 for 60, including a home run and 5 runs batted in. He's in there at shortstop once again, batting in the 7th slot in the lineup. We have 2 minutes and 30 seconds until the first pitch. Mark Burley and Chris Archer.
And another critical start for the young right-hander, and a very big game for the Rays. Take a look at the starting lineup for the Toronto Blue Jays, brought to you by your Southern Ford dealers. Jose Reyes will lead it off at shortstop, followed by Munenori Kawasaki. Melky Cabrera hits third, and Jose Bautista's in at first base as a result of all the injuries they've suffered. He's now at first. Navarro, Reimold, Rasmus, Johnson, that's Dan Johnson, the DH, and Juan Francisco at third, bats ninth.
Well, here are the season numbers on Chris Archer, making his 19th start, even up 5-5 record, ERA of 3.16. We highlighted his run of 10 starts where he has been absolutely outstanding.
And the first pitch of tonight's game, presented by Pinch-A-Penny, is a fastball in there for a strike to Jose Reyes. So we are underway. He pours another one in at 95, strike 2.
Well, he's sending a message here early. You know, that's what Chris does, and that's what he's been doing during this recent hot streak. Lots of fastballs, mid to upper 90s. Explosive.
Fastball again, and Reyes manages to make contact, fouling it away.
When this is a guy really in this lineup, the way it is constituted right now for the Blue Jays, missing some key members, this is a guy that you have to keep off base, and he has had some success off Chris in the past.
Now on the left side, that's going to tail out of play into the stands. There's 4 of 7 against him. And how big is this game tonight? I loved Archer's quote. It's huge, dude.
Right. Well, he gets it. He understands the magnitude of this game, of this series going into the break, and he wants to be out there.
1 ball, 2 strikes, and that's been another facet of his development that has been fun to watch. Great to see him on the mound and a young pitcher develop the way he has. But you're right. You're so right about that. He wants to pitch these games. And he dominated Reyes right there. Wow. Slider in at 89. He's out on strike.
And how can you lay off? Look how long this ball stays in the strike zone. Still there, still there. Now it starts to break out, but the swing has already been started. And that is the danger. You know, we talk about Cobb's changeup and how it stays in the zone for a long time. That's the same thing with the late breaking slider of Chris Archer, and that's why it can be so devastating.
1 away, and here's Kawasaki, the second baseman. Chokes up on the bat, takes the fastball outside. 1-0. Kawasaki, a fan favorite in Toronto. They were disappointed, the fans were, when he was sent to the minor leagues earlier this year. And now, as a result of all of the issues they've had with their roster, injuries and the like, he's back playing. Very animated.
Very, very animated. Looking right now like he's swinging a half bat and choking up on it. This looks like one of those souvenir bats, a giveaway.
And a strike.
Yeah, that's the one thing, though, with Chris Archer. You got to get it started early. So he's going to go little guy bat, and then we're going to choke up on it. This guy's priceless.
And he takes a strike. 2-2. Yeah, there's a lot going on even when he doesn't swing the bat. There's a lot going on with him.
Well, you remember when he would be out at shortstop and Brett Laurie over at third base.
Swing and a miss. He's out on strikes. A defensive swing against an attacking slider. 2 gone.
Let's take a quick look at the Rays defense as it lines up tonight. In the outfield, left to right, Brandon Guyer, Desmond Jennings, and Ben Zobrist. Across the infield, third to first, Evan Longoria, Yanel Escobar, Logan Forsythe, and James Loney. Jose Molina, late addition to this lineup behind the plate.
Yeah, Ryan Hannigan originally in the lineup, but he had a little side issue that resulted in him being a late scratch. Here's Cabrera. It's a ball. Switch hitting outfielder Cabrera hitting .301. 11 home runs on the year. Start of the day tied for second in the league in total hits with 114.
You know, there's going to be some guys in this Toronto lineup that are going to have to up their game with the injuries. You think about Adam Lind out of this lineup. He's been terror on right-handed pitching this year. Of course, Edwin Encarnacion, a big loss. And this team really over the last month, a little over a month, has had trouble scoring runs.
Well, 1-2 to Cabrera.
And obviously those injuries are not going to help that cause.
Yeah, Encarnacion with a quad injury, he hit 26 home runs. Strike three call. 1, 2, 3 as Archer strikes out the side. You got Reyes on the slider. Kawasaki defensive on the slider. Cabrera looking. See ya. Tonight, opening a 3-game series. Great to have you looking in. For your Southern Ford dealers, the Rays will have this lineup against Mark Burley, Desmond Jennings, Ben Zobrist in right, and Brandon Guyer in left. Evan Longoria cleanup, followed by James Loney. The DH is Sean Rodriguez, Escobar at short, Jose Molina behind the plate, and Logan Forsythe at second, hitting ninth. Desmond fouls the first pitch up the right side, slicing out of play.
You know how people like to speed walk?
Yes.
Well, you got to speed talk when Burley is on the mound. This guy gets it and rips it.
Yeah, if he's going to take any time at all between pitches, the hitter's got to step out, make a point of being outside that batter's box.
And that is what you should see the Rays hitters do, as much as will be allowed, is take their time and just not allow Burley to get into that rhythm. He is the quickest pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Pitch is down. It's a 1 and 2 strike count.
And patience will be key, because he has the ability to frustrate you with soft stuff.
Pitch inside. You know, when he was with the White Sox, he frustrated not only hitters but management with the White Sox. They'd have fireworks night, start a game like at 3 o'clock. He'd get the game over, and it's still not dark enough to shoot off the fireworks. There's a base hit outside the range of Kawasaki, and Jennings is aboard. So all the marketing people were upset. They were slow it down.
No, you're absolutely right. Hey, listen, I remember facing off against him, and we would be out in the outfield warming up, and he literally would be whistling over, giving you that international sign of, hey, let's go, let's get it and throw it and get out of here quick. And that's exactly how he likes to play the game, and that's why the Rays are going to need to be patient, and much like Jennings did right there, take advantage of balls that stay out over the plate.
So Desmond is aboard. Gives Desmond 8 out of 19 in his career against him. Here's Ben Zobrist. There's a strike. Ben hitting a little over 340 from the right side.
Burley coming off of a loss in his last start against the Oakland A's in Oakland. Gave up 3 earned in 6 innings. That was his 5th loss in his last 6 starts.
1 ball, 1 strike. Well, we take a look at our GMC big matchup, and for the Rays, Jennings up to 421 against Burley, Evan Longoria 323, and Ben Zobrist 333. So some pretty good matchups for the Rays right there. Maybe 3 of the first 4 hitters he faces in the Rays lineup tonight.
And those are the guys that you want to carry you. I mean, those are at the top of the order. They should get the most at bats. They've had the most success.
Line drive into right. That's going to get down for a base hit. One hop in front of Reimold. So both Jennings and Zobrist go the other way. Zobrist with that soft liner. 2 men on with nobody out.
Now again, see the ball for a long time. This ball stays middle of the plate. And Ben Zobrist just slices it out there into right field. Easy on the swing, doesn't try to overdo it. And that will be the key. You know, you talk about patience with Burley, but also you don't want to overswing. I mean, he's going to throw that fastball. His best fastball tonight might be 84, 85. And so you just got to go out there, nice smooth swing, try to barrel it up and find holes.
There's Brandon Guyer. He puts down a bunt. Burley not going to go anywhere. Burley looked at third turn, and Guyer hustling down that line. Burley decided to hang on to it.
Yeah, but there was no urgency getting off the mound. And I think initially Mark wanted to go to third base. You see right here, he gets off, and by the time he realizes can't do it, he turns to lollipop it to first and doesn't take into account Brandon Guyer. And this is the one thing we know about him is he plays hard all the time, and that caught Burley off guard.
It's been a refreshing part of the game we've seen out of Brandon Guyer and Kevin Kiermaier. Now the bases are loaded, and Evan Longoria takes a cut and a miss. The breaking ball, strike one.
You know, these are the instances where the Rays hitters again have to really lock it in, because Burley has been so good with runners in scoring position this year. This is where he really has excelled, holding opponents to just a 174 average. He takes advantage of your aggressiveness.
And a pop fly headed toward right center. That's Reimold making the catch, tagging at third Jennings. And he will score. The throw cut by Reyes, holding at first Guyer. Zobrist advances to third. They might have had a little play on Guyer off first.
Yeah, well, and nobody was there. That was the problem. Jose Bautista, not your everyday first baseman, had sunk into the middle of the diamond and left first base with nobody on it. So Guyer could get aggressive knowing that no one was going to be able to sneak in behind him. And how about the throw here by Reimold? There's really no way that Ben Zobrist on this medium deep fly ball should be able to get to third. Look at, there's Bautista right here as he sneaks in to the middle of the diamond, and then Guyer knows, look, I can go up aggressively, see where that throw goes, because no one can backdoor me.
So the Rays get the game's first run. First and third. Here's James Loney. One ball, no strikes.
Keep your head on a swivel over there at first base. Brandon Guyer, young, aggressive. Mark Burley, one of the better pickoff moves you will see from a lefty.
And he's over there again.
Some guys pick off, some lefties pick off guys because they're stealing on first movement and they're able to get the throw over and make a play. Burley can get you when you have no intention of running, just on his move alone. Very good.
Toward the middle, that's Reyes stepping on the bag, and the throw to first. So Burley gets out of that, giving up just the one run. At the end of an inning, it's 1-0 Tampa Bay. Nothing lead. Chris Archer back to the mound. It has been a challenge for John Gibbons' club recently. Tonight's Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. And how about this? Just over the last 7 games, they've dropped 6 out of 7, averaging under 2.5 runs a game, and 9 and 18 since the 11th of June.
Freezing Cold Hard Facts. I mean, that is tough what they're going through right now.
And he's had to be creative not only to put a lineup together, but just to find guys to put into that lineup recently with their injuries.
You know, this reminds you of what Toronto was going through at the beginning of last year in April with all the injuries. That team is supposed to be the super team, penciled in to win the East, go to the World Series, got off to a horrendous start, a lot of injuries. This year, the opposite. You know, they had a pretty good-sized lead in the East, playing very well, and that starts to slide, and now the injuries start to pile up.
2-1. Well, take a look. We mentioned that 9 and 18. That's been a month. The Rays have had the best record, shared with Baltimore in the AL East. And the Blue Jays at 9 and 18 in the bottom.
You know, Dwayne, if you go back a few days before that, you know, they came into play on June the 7th. They were 38 and 24 and had a 6-game lead over the Yankees. And in that time have gone 10 and 21 and now find themselves 3 back of Baltimore.
You know, you looked at that Eastern AL East standings for the last month, and I was talking with a radio guy from Toronto today, and he said, hey, if the season had started a month ago, and certainly now, he goes, the Rays have to be the team favored to win the division. There's strike 3 called on Bautista. 4 consecutive strikeouts by Archer to begin this when he got Bautista on a fastball in the mid-90s.
Yeah, and I could not agree more. I think that what we've seen the pitching staff come together. You know, the bullpen had a blip the other night, but overall they've been solid. The team has been playing with more energy. They've been scoring more runs, doing a better job with runners in scoring position overall. And you're right. I mean, that's what's so topsy-turvy about this division this year.
Leonard Navarro, and the Rays put the extreme shift on for him. There's a strike. Longoria, the only man on the left side. Forsythe in shallow right. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good assessment right now, and the way this club has played recently. Liner into left, and Geyer is there, 2 gone. And it goes back to what we had talked about earlier 2 or 3 weeks ago, thinking about the possibility of this team. The only 2 things that made it possible for them to even entertain the idea of something in the postseason: their pitching and the state of the division.
Right.
And those 2 things together would make that possible.
And that's why I think the more you think about these red letter dates, now this is the biggest series ever. This is the biggest thing going into the All-Star break, because now we're going to reassess and everything. Well, it just depends.
Yeah.
It depends. I mean, listen, David Price made his last start at Tropicana Field a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? I mean, I don't know. That's the way I took it. He's still around. Yeah. I mean, you just never know. You just keep going out, playing games, winning games, and see where this division will fall, because it is just up and down, nobody taking a hold of anything.
And I'm telling you, the way Archer's throwing the ball tonight, how nasty has he been? Reimold had no chance on that last pitch, that slider.
No. Wow. I mean, the first 4 strikeouts, just dominance. And you're right, it's so hard.
We've seen him throw well to the first 5 hitters. I think this is the best I've ever seen him throw. Look at that. See ya. Struck him out on a slider. There's some exciting stuff in what he's doing tonight. If he keeps this up, wow. Bottom of the 2nd coming, 1-0 Rays. Thanks to all the fans. The Rays have sold out the Papa John's bullpen box and other party areas for the 2014 season. And limited dates remain for a few. We'll tell you about those in a moment. Sean Rodriguez takes a strike. Rodriguez, Escobar, and Molina here against Mark Burley. 1 ball, 1 strike. Sean starts the night hitting .237, 8 home runs. That's a foul ball, 1 and 2. Limited dates remain for the back porch, and group tickets in general seating areas still available. For more information, contact Group Sales at 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Rodriguez, big cut and a miss. He's out on strike.
There's a look by Sean Rodriguez after the swing and a miss. Said it all. That's what Mark Burley will do to you as a hitter. You know, Sean Rodriguez, watch this right here. Just nothing more than a fastball, about 83, a little cut to it. And you see Rodriguez, and then just the stare out. Like, what? We didn't get a chance to see it there, but yeah, he just was looking out at him like, are you kidding me? And that's what he got him on, 84 miles an hour, 83, 84.
Yeah, that's his fastball.
There it is. So you can't even get to these shots because Burley's too quick. They're trying.
Well, Escobar up here, 1-0 the count to him. Fly ball into center, and Rasmus coming on to make the grab.
Get fooled a little bit by the big swing and the trajectory of the ball. Now here's that reaction. I mean, enough said.
Shot there.
That's what he can do to you. You just say to yourself, how did I just get tied up on 83?
Yeah, he struck him out on a fastball at 83. Then he got Escobar on a changeup, a little beyond the mid-70s. 1 strike to count to Jose Molina. The foul ball runs it to 0-2.
Just never allows you to get comfortable unless you take the time yourself. He's right on top of you with the next pitch.
1 ball and 2 strikes. How about these numbers for Molina against Burley?
If everybody in the lineup's hitting over 300 off him, how does he keep beating the Rays?
Yeah, really. How does he have 10 wins against him, including a perfect game?
And 2-0 this year with an ERA of under 2.
Yeah. Look out, George Hendry. Yeah, we don't need any of that.
No.
I mean,
and you know what? That's the last thing that George is thinking. Yeah. With a right-handed hitter on the mound, is a line drive coming his way.
And a base hit for Molina to the right of Reyes. 2-out single. Now George will have to give it to Molina at first base.
Hey, son, get the head out like this.
He says, all right, good, you got a hit, but what are you trying to do? Kill me? Here's Forsythe. That was great. Got to admit. 1-0 the count to Logan Forsythe. You knew it was coming, too.
Never one to mince words.
No. Up the right side. Fair ball. Headed toward the corner. Reimold up with it. Molina chugs into third on the double by Forsythe. The Rays have a 2-out threat.
Interesting. The line drive that went by the head down there of Cuz. These hitters, we talk about them being patient. Look what they're doing. Just staying back. How many hits now the other way for Rays hitters? Molina pulled his, but a couple hits in the first went the other way. Molina galloping over to third base. So they are staying back on Burley, being patient, and using the other side of the field. It's a really nice approach against the soft-tossing Burley.
Yeah, Jennings and Zobrist both went the other way in the first, and here's Desmond again. Kyer put down the bunt. Forsythe with a double into the right field corner. Molina pulled it through the hole between short and third. Strike to count to Jennings. Did he go? And the appeal, Mike Everett says yes. And that changes Desmond's mood for a moment.
Well, the bat does get whippy, but you see right there, he did hold up. That was not the right call.
One ball, 2 strikes. Todd Tishner's calling the balls and strikes. Young umpire in his 4th year out of Kansas. Just a little piece of that one. So it's still 1-2. Charts seem to indicate that with Tishner back there, strike zone's a little bigger with a left-handed hitter up there, so that's a little better news for right-handed hitters.
You just wonder overall, because of Burley's pace, and he's a strike thrower too, if that doesn't start to influence Tishner back there just a little bit. That'll be interesting to watch as this game unfolds.
Ball holds the count right there, even 2-2.
Big spot here for the Rays. You know, it looked like it was going to be a quiet inning down at the bottom of the order, but back-to-back hits have given them another opportunity, and you like to see him cash in. You know, bases loaded, heart of the order, nobody out in the first and just 1 run. I like more than that.
Yeah, particularly after that bases loaded, nobody out, settling for 1. Now with 2 outs, if they could put something together and score. The count is full on Jennings. Desmond, a breaking ball. He's taken a couple of close pitches, and they've gone his way.
And it just, you know, you've got to, again, stay patient. You got to see the ball for a long time. You can't get too aggressive. That's what Burley wants you to do. And the Rays so far doing a nice job.
Oh, that's fouled off his foot.
Well, that might have gotten him up even higher than that. That ball was in there, and he wrapped that off himself pretty good. Let's see where that got him. Ultimately,
right
inside
on the
of the knee.
Yeah, that hurts. A direct shot to the knee. Ron Porterfield out there assessing the situation. Boy, those guys are so good at that as well. You see them determine early the nature of the injury and whether there's something more serious.
Yeah, well, you know, and Joe Madden has often said that Ron Porterfield, Paul Harker, the training staff here with the Rays is the best in baseball, and I don't think there's not many that would argue with that. These guys are tremendous. I know every team is probably biased towards their guy, but you're not going to find a more thorough group than the Rays have.
Yeah, Porterfield left what was a painful situation, ultimately left it with a smile, looking back at Jennings. Okay, I fixed it. I get a hit.
Yeah, I didn't do that for nothing. Yeah, let's go.
This will be the 9th pitch coming. And this at bat to Jennings, 3-2, and he draws the walk. So the Rays have the bases loaded again here in the 2nd inning, as they did in the first. So some great opportunities early. This one coming with 2 outs. And singled his first time. A nice take on the pitch away.
See, that's how he tries to use that. Okay, the Rays are starting to put something together. Ben Zobrist's excited to be up in this opportunity. All of a sudden, give him that changeup off the plate. Hopefully, he gets aggressive, goes out after it, and ends the inning. Right now, Rays are staying patient, waiting for their pitch. And they've been able to keep the pressure on Burley here in the early going. Little cut fastball there right to the top of the zone, and it does get the call.
Fly ball lifted into center. Rasmus over there. We had Reimold breathing down his neck. Rasmus made the catch. Rays leave him loaded. They lead 1-0. Center field, Desmond Jennings departs after fouling that pitch off his knee. He did draw the walk, and now he has been removed from this game.
And we'll just await word like everybody else, but that ball got him swiftly and clean on the right on that kneecap.
He can't stop. Man in motion.
And he's back home. He's back home in center field.
We go to the third. Chris Archer has made 26 pitches, 19 of which have been strikes through the first 2 innings. Colby Rasmus, the center fielder, lines this one into right, and it's going to fall for a base hit. On the first pitch, a liner one hop in front of Zobrist.
I think these Blue Jay hitters through the first 2 innings are seeing that Chris Archer is crisp. He is on with both pitches, and he's been very aggressive. So they're going up there looking for something, looking for that heater to catch a little bit too much plate, and that one does. And that's, again, you know what that was? Another pitch where you're starting to hit her off with a fastball in, and it's running back middle. Those are the ones you get hurt on.
Well, here's Dan Johnson. Johnson, the DH. And there's the pitch in.
So the last 2 hitters, you're going to start them off with a fastball in. 2 of the 3 things are bad. There you go. One leaks middle for a base hit, one you miss with, and you immediately fall behind. like that follow-up right there.
Yeah, changeup.
That's right.
Well, I tell you, we haven't seen that a lot from him. His last start, I don't know, maybe one.
Yeah, he comes into every start with the idea, tonight's the night against the lefties, I'm going to break it out. But usually, and in this last little run he's been on, the fastball and slider are so good that he just never gets to it. And you can't blame him, really, the way he's throwing.
2 balls and a strike. Johnson coming up from Buffalo. He had 17 home runs in Buffalo with 54 runs batted in as the injury list continued to climb. Johnson has joined the Blue Jays. They give them another left-handed bat. Adam Lind on the DL now. 2-2.
I think he was lined up to be in the AAA All-Star Home Run Derby the year that he was having in Buffalo. Now finds himself in the big leagues here in Tropicana Field.
And having a foot issue most recently, a fracture in the foot, so he's out. You mentioned Encarnacion with the quad and Brett Lawrie with a broken index finger. 3-2 here on Johnson. And he draws the walk. Well, here's what we're not seeing in that lineup for the Blue Jays.
Well, their big bopper. You talked about Encarnacion with the 26 home runs and the damage he can do with one swing of the bat. He's out of there. You mentioned Brett Lawrie, Adam Lind against right-handed pitching. That is a tough loss right there offensively for the Blue Jays, and that's where they really have been struggling for over a month now.
Encarnacion gives them 70 runs batted in and protection for Bautista.
It's the trickle down that gets you. Bad enough that bat's out of the lineup. All that means is Jose Bautista in any meaningful situation should not see anything to hit.
Juan Francisco fouling a changeup, so we've seen a couple of those here in this inning.
Not a bad call here because Francisco, a dead red fastball hitter.
Down and in. Slider, 1-1. Now Francisco tends to be one of those all or nothing hitters. He's on their road trip right now, 2 for 14 with a home run and 7 strikeouts. Got some power. 1-2.
Well, and Chris Archer, as far as starting pitchers goes, one of the best fastballs, if not the most powerful fastball in the game as a starter, and Francisco yet to see one. He has gone changeup, slider, down and in, slider, back door for strike 2. That's how much Francisco looks for that heater.
And he's out on strikes. Archer just was not going to go there with the fastball. Struck him out on a slider.
If you don't have to, why? You're up 1-2. Go right back to that backdoor slider. This one, take it just a little bit lower, and you get exactly what you want.
Strikeout number 6 the first time through the order. Well, the top of the lineup, Jose Reyes. Bites down and in, out of the zone, taken for a ball. Two men on, 1 out. a turn, nothing doing. Escobar breaking to the bag at second. Rasmus back in, no issue. The shortstop Reyes up here. Two and 0.
Trying to backdoor that slider, and Jose Molina is really going to try to work here to take a pitch off the plate and bring it in.
Tishner not going for it. Neither would Reyes, and the count is 2-0. There's a strike, a fastball.
And he may have gotten him one there, because that pitch looked like it was borderline or just off. But Molina soft with the hands, really sticks the landing out in front. Get out there and get it before it tails too much.
Yeah, that ball was on a line to be on the corner, and you could see it tail. That was a great shot of that pitch.
That's why he will extend and go out and get those close ones. You let it travel any further, it's going to be a ball for sure.
And a soft little looper into left. One hop to Geyer. The bases are going to be loaded. Rasmus stopped at third.
You know, Colby Rasmus had a great start off of second base. Had a good read and then kind of pulled up a little bit because Geyer was coming in pretty hard. Now watch him initially. Looks like, okay, maybe he can score here. Now he starts to pause, not really getting into it yet. And just that little slowdown allows Geyer to get to it, get it in quickly.
Yeah, and Geyer had his glove up out there as well.
Yep.
Anything you could do to maybe get a little half step, a step edge. Nice job.
That's right. And now you keep, see Geyer right there, like maybe I'm going to get there, fooling Rasmus, keeping him from being too aggressive. And now you still got a double play in order and a force out at any base.
Kawasaki is the hitter, and a base hit through the right side. Rasmus scores. Johnson stops at third, and we're tied 1-1. A fastball to Kawasaki was ready for that one.
Yeah, these Blue Jay hitters are now going up looking for that early fastball and hoping for one again. Right here, that's middle away, and it's got elevation to it. You know, early in the game, Archer's fastball was explosive and down. Last couple, some have leaked over the plate. They're getting up around the belt area, and the Blue Jays are putting better swings on it.
Yeah, he had that great fastball and the slider. They were helpless against the slider as well. A different story here in the third.
Well, they jumped him. You know, Rasmus came out, first pitch swinging. Then all of a sudden, you walk Dan Johnson immediately into trouble. Some good pitches to Francisco, but Reyes and Kawasaki have continued this trend.
Now you're dealing with the number 3 hitter, Cabrera. And he's swinging at the first pitch slider, fouling it back.
I like the adjustment. You know, realizing Archer and Molina realizing these guys are up there targeting that fastball. Go ahead and go off speed early. Now get ahead and work from there. But you got to start getting the ball back to better spots, not just try to overpower them with stuff.
Fastball is foul, lifted down the left side, out of play. So the mid-90s fastball runs the count to 2 strikes.
And he's put himself in a great position here for the punch out. And if he's going to go with that slider and it's going to be anywhere near that dirt, you're going to need Jose Molina to be active back there. Make sure that ball stays in front of him.
0-2. It's down and in. A ball, 2 strikes.
He may have been
Bautista on deck.
Yeah. And this may be one of those situations where, depending on what happens here, you may have to pitch them.
Ground ball toward the middle, backhanded, but Forsythe cannot get rid of the ball. The run will score. The bases will be loaded again. It's now 2-1. Well, Forsythe almost pulled off a great stop and trying to start a play. Couldn't come up with it.
Well, he was fully extended on that backhand right here. Now he's going to get the ball out of his glove and make a very difficult flip. You either got to flip that way out in front or almost behind your back. Couldn't come up with it clean. Bases stay loaded. Another run for the Blue Jays, and there is no place here to pitch around Bautista. The one thing that Archer has going for him, career numbers, Bautista just 1 out of 12, including a strikeout his first time up.
Jim Hickey paying a visit to the mound. Well, here's an interesting breakout with Encarnacion in the lineup. You can see his numbers much different than without him.
Yeah, and there's no reason. It's a small sample size, obviously, but no reason to think that it won't continue along those lines somewhat. Because of the fact that you just don't have to pitch him. Now, you do here because the bases are loaded. There's nowhere to go with it. But, situation, a runner on second, 2 outs in an inning, you're going to pitch around him, whether it's competitively or not, and attack whoever's behind him.
Jose Bautista. Way high. Fastball. Well, Archer in a tight situation, maybe a little overamped.
At least on pitch one, that was for sure.
Foul back. 1-1. They got Bautista looking on a 3-2 fastball in the second inning. Faces him now with the bases loaded in the third inning. The right side foul. It's headed for the stands.
Well, and now he has the opportunity with either the wipeout slider or coming with another heater to put him away. 1-2. You've had success against this very dangerous hitter in the past. If he can replicate the first 2 inning slider, that's what I'm going with right here. You've got confidence in it. Let it eat.
Shot into right. Zobrist will be there to make the catch. Tag at third. Reyes will score. Going over to third, Kawasaki. And Bautista picks up the run, batted in on a 1-2 fastball.
And you know what? It may turn out to be a pitch a little bit too good to hit in a 1-2 count. You see right here, misses badly, falls behind, then comes back. Good heater here, fouls off. Another one here, up. And then this one, same thing. You let a hitter like Bautista see that same pitch almost 3 in a row. He's eventually going to get it out into the outfield, which is what he does.
So the Blue Jays have turned their opportunity into a 3-run inning so far. Twice the Rays have loaded the bases, and so far they have 1 run to show for it. And they're down by 2. Deanna Navarro, the former Ray, now catching for the Blue Jays. Chomps one by the mound. Escobar scoops and makes the toss on the first base side of second. Navarro's out. Blue Jays score 3, grab a 3-1 lead. Game tonight and all season long. Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Well, the Rays twice have loaded the bases against Burley in the first 2 innings. They got a run in the first, left them loaded in the second inning. So let's see what they can do here in the third with the Rays sending Geyer, Longoria, and Loney to the plate.
You're looking for an answer, and you're looking for this Rays offense to continue to keep the pressure on Burley in hopes that he cracks at some point.
First pitch is a strike.
Easier said than done. Burley has been around. This guy's closing in on 200 wins.
Chop toward the middle. That's going to go through. Base hit into center. And Geyer is 2 for 2. So the Rays try to build an inning again.
Jennings, base hit opposite field. Zobrist, base hit opposite field. Geyer, infield hit. Base hit up the middle. Forsythe, base hit the other way. These Rays hitters have a nice approach tonight off of Mark Burley. Now you need to cash it in with some runs.
Evan Longoria drove in the Rays run with a sacrifice fly to right in the first. Pitch is a strike, and what you hope the Rays can do is cash in on these opportunities and not give Burley a chance to put it all together and start to work his magic the way he does.
We've seen that too many times.
Yes, we have.
Too many times.
Ooh, big cut. Longoria liked that one, but fouled it back.
That is where the approach of seeing that ball for a long time, the Rays have been using the other way and up the middle here early, and then all of a sudden a pitch that's middle in, you know that your hands should be quick enough to get to that with authority. And now those are the balls that you're looking to pull and drive.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
He wants you up there swinging hard at the soft stuff away, and you're just rolling over it constantly.
Evan is out on strikes.
Just makes it disappear. 84 miles an hour. There is nothing fancy about this.
It's amazing.
And he was tardy. That's the thing. This ball, he's able to power it and get it right by him. He's sitting a little bit softer than that, and 83, 84 can still be effective.
James Loney in the batter's box. Takes the pitch hit off the plate. Two balls, no strikes to Loney. Two and one. Rays facing the 35-year-old left-hander. Originally got to the major leagues in 2000 with the White Sox. Fly ball short center out from shortstop Reyes. And Loney is the second out. So Sean Rodriguez will be the hitter. Burley had a long run with the White Sox until he went to Miami for 1 year in 2012. Last year with the Blue Jays. There's one in double figures every year he's been in the major leagues, with the exception of the year he came up, and that was not a full season. Only 3 starts, and the rest of his stuff came out of the bullpen. Well, when he's been around a full year, double figure wins every season.
Remarkably consistent. And you know, he was another guy last year. He got off to a terrible start, but he turned it around, finished strong, got off to a great start this year. He's won 15 of his 18 starts. He's given up 3 earned or fewer. He just knows what he's doing. And so you take the numbers, the velocity numbers, and just can them. Put them in your hip pocket. He just knows how to pitch, move the ball around. And he is a frustrating, or can be an extremely frustrating at bat.
Two balls, 2 strikes. It's got some hook to it and bounces out of play.
It's like every pitch that Burley throws is designed for the next pitch. One sets up the other. There's really no haphazard pitches. There's no pitch without a thought. Everything in turn trying to set up something else.
Popped up by Sean Rodriguez, and Reyes at shortstop. The changeup got him. On to the 4th inning. 3-1 Toronto.
Sports head to the top of the 4th race, trailing the Blue Jays 3-1. Some major news going on in the minor leagues down on the farm. You might have heard of Clayton Kershaw's scoreless inning streak ending last night for the Dodgers at 41 innings. Well, the Rays have a pitcher who's got a scoreless inning streak of his own. DJ Slayton pitched 6 innings of no-hit ball yesterday to extend his scoreless inning streak for the Hudson Valley Renegades to 23 innings. His ERA is now down to .064 in 6 games so far this season. No runs allowed in his last 3 starts. And by the way, guys, Hudson Valley a tidy 20-7 right now, first place in the New York Penn League. Guys.
All right, thank you very much, Rich. We go to the 4th with Nolan Reimold taking a big cut and a miss. Archer starting him with a slider. He got him on 3 pitches, struck him out with a slider back in the 2nd. One count. John Gibbons, the Manager looking on. Former first-round pick by the New York Mets in 1980 as a catcher. Two and one. And it has been a battle for Gibbons. You know, last year a lot of expectations. His second time around as the manager of the Blue Jays. They had all kinds of injuries to begin the year. Got off to a bad start and never really did reach what most folks thought was great potential. And this year things were starting to build for them, and it appeared that they were in a good position in the East, and now they've run into injuries and they've struggled again. Rimo just brushed by that pitch. That was ball 4 anyway.
Well, and you know, this is one of those situations where you need Chris here to, you know, he's acknowledging Jose Molina right there, going to lock it in, because he started him out great slider down and away, strike 1, and then missed 4 in a row. Yeah, you know, you're talking about Gibbons and what he's had to go through with the last 2 years, and like you said, had the division pretty much, you know, a potential stranglehold on him, the way that they were playing at the time of their little run, and also the fact that the rest of the division couldn't get out of its own way.
Yep.
And they've given it all back up in a matter of about 4 weeks.
Yep. It was a miss by Archer, and Molina's going to go out there. And Gibbons, you know, through that all, he's got a great makeup. He's, you know, he's a tolerant guy. He's an understanding guy, and he can be tough when he needs to be. And all of those are great qualities that you like in a manager.
You know, that when we got a chance to sit down and talk with him, I know I came away impressed. You know, first time you really get to, you know, pick a guy's brain a little bit, because that's usually about the only thing you're getting out of John Gibbons is that look right there. So you don't know what's behind, you know, when you pull back the curtains, but you're absolutely right. His makeup is outstanding.
Next pitch, and Rasmus hits a high fly ball toward the corner and right. Zobrist across the line makes the catch. Now the throw back to second as Rimo tags and advances on that long foul ball, just foul down the right side. Rasmus the first out.
Boy, you thought that could have been potential trouble there. Rasmus just a little bit too quick on the swing. Caught that out in front, and Zobrist had to go down into the corner, and that's what allowed Reimold to move up.
You know, Gibbons is one of those guys. He was a first-round pick. A lot was expected of him in New York. He's a kid from San Antonio, went to high school in San Antonio. First-round pick, New York, big lights, okay, do the system, let's go. And he said he got up there, I think it was about 04, let's see, somewhere after 3 or 4 years in the minor leagues, and he said, you know, I found that I just couldn't hit the curveball. He said that ended it all.
That happens to a lot.
Yes, it does.
A lot of players.
1 ball, no strikes.
You know, that's the thing, too. It doesn't take long for opposing teams and opposing pitchers to find that out. And that's why getting to the big leagues hard enough, staying in the big leagues is the challenge. Because you've got to make constant adjustments, and you've got to be able to handle everything that the opposition is going to throw at you, whether you're a pitcher, a hitter.
Yeah, I think the Mets, they drafted him in 80, and I think by 84 there was talk that he was going to be their everyday catcher. The changeup misses. Now it's 3-0 to Johnson, and that didn't work out. And that's when they brought. That's when Gary Carter showed up in New York.
Okay,
took care of that. That's a strike. 3-1. Well, 1 on, 1 out. It was a quick start for Archer, dominant through the first 2 innings. Ran into a little issue in the third. Now leadoff walk in the fourth. Reimold has gone to second on the fly ball. And Johnson lifts a popper. Third base side foul, and Longoria runs out of room. So it's now a full count, 3-2. Juan Francisco on deck. So this is a big pitch right here to Johnson, 3-2.
Well, he's come all the way back after falling behind 3-0 on a badly missed changeup. He's now come back, put himself in a position to record this out.
And ball 4, so 2 walks in the inning. 2 on with 1 out. Francisco's going to be the hitter. Jim Hickey heads to the mound, and we'll check in with Todd Callis for a moment. Todd?
Dwayne, we have an update on Desmond Jennings from the Rays clubhouse. A little bit of a scary moment for him, but he's got a bruised knee right now. They did take x-rays, and the x-rays are negative. So Desmond Jennings out with a bruised knee day to day. But fortunately, nothing showed up on the x-rays. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you for the update. Here's that foul ball that went directly on that left knee, and yeah, that'd be x-raying that as well.
I mean, that hurts watching it in slow motion. I mean, he popped that thing off himself pretty good. So I guess the best news you could get coming out of a game like that and taking x-rays, nothing has shown up. Now, what needs to happen right here after that visit from Jim Hickey is Chris Archer needs to lock it back into where he was early in this game. 2 walks in this inning to the 6th hitter in the 6-hole, Reimold, and then Dan Johnson, the 8-hole hitter. That's not what you want.
Francisco takes the first pitch, a slider missing. 1-0.
And he still hasn't seen a fastball.
Well, he's off. That's right. 4 pitches his first time up. No fastballs. Struck him out on a slider. The chopper by Archer. Forsythe will make the play, and the runners advance to second and third. Archer tried to grab that chopper, got by him, so 2 outs.
And this becomes a huge at bat. Jose Reyes, who is now, I guess, 5 of 9 off of Chris Archer in his career, got runners at second and third. They'll be running on contact, already working with the 2-run lead.
Reyes on their current road trip is 11 out of 33 with a home run. That's .333. And now we're going to get a look at Reimold.
He was telling the trainer that came out there that he felt something in his lower left leg. Let's see him here. Comes up lane there a little bit at the end. You can see he felt something, no question.
Taking him off.
Well, he had a difficult time in his tenure with Baltimore staying healthy, and he's going to leave the game here. Leaves limping. And Mastriani's going to run for Reimold. Which is popped up, but it will be out of reach. No chance for Longoria. Foul ball for a strike. You know, Reimold leaves with the leg situation there. He'd had all kinds of stints to the DL with Baltimore. Most recently, a pretty serious neck issue that prevented him from being a part of their club. I remember when he came up with Baltimore, he showed a little pop with his bat, and they were optimistic that he could be a significant part of their club. Injuries have prevented that. Reyes fouls it. 0-2. Second and third. 2 strikes the count to Reyes. Upstairs. Fastball. 1-2. Kawasaki, the second baseman, on deck. He drove in a run in their 3-run third. Line drive into right. It's going to be a base hit. Zobrist couldn't come up with it. Both runs will score. Mastroianni, and then following Johnson with the second run. A line single. A sinking liner into right. That's 5-1.
You know, they tried to come back in there, and he had a good swing on the previous. This ball was not going to, even if Ben comes up with that, you could see that ball clearly hit the turf, rattled around in the glove, comes out, and that was costly as the Blue Jays played 2 more on another hit out of Reyes. Now 6 out of 10 against Chris Archer.
So Reyes driving in 2 runs with the base hit. 3 runs in the third, 2 runs in the fourth for the Blue Jays. Kawasaki takes a pitch up and away. So the 2 walks have been converted into runs on a base hit by Jose Reyes. Big cut, 1-1.
You know, that was the pitch that got Chris Archer to strike 2, where he threw that fastball middle into Reyes. Reyes had a really good swing at it and fouled it off his leg, and you can see he was upset with himself because he knew he had a pitch to handle. And they went right back in that same area. This time he did not miss it.
Yeah. Good hitters frequently don't.
No, you cannot give them the second opportunity. And that, you know, that's where, you know, they went with the fastball then off the plate away to him, and then came right back to that same spot. Well, he was
likes
already
that spot.
That's right. And he had shown you with the previous swing, and the fact that he was so upset that he didn't do anything with it, probably thinking that was my one pitch to hit. Yep. Well, then they gave him a mulligan, and it cost 2 runs.
Yeah, they say a hitter might, in the sequence of pitches, get that one pitch to hit.
Yeah.
Well, he got another one.
Yeah. You give him 2, it didn't work out very well.
Foul ball. Let's take a look at that pitch you referenced first.
Watch this. It's leaking back middle, trying to come in. He takes a good swing, and he is not happy. Hit himself, number 1, but then he was ticked. Guess what? Gets it again. Can't do that.
Yeah, that makes a mediocre hitter good. It makes a good hitter great.
And a guy that, you know, obviously with the numbers now 6 out of 10,
yep.
You know, you're starting to get into that range where it's no longer just you know, a fluky nice game or 2. It's starting to become a trend. He sees the ball well off of you.
Swing and a miss. Kawasaki out of there on the slider. 2 runs scored. It's 5-1 Toronto.
facing the Jays left-hander.
Deception, is the number one thing. He doesn't throw anything that looks, necessarily like it's going to be right down the middle. I mean, he keeps the ball in the corners. Keeps changing speeds and all the things that you have to do, and he's crafty. He's been around for a long time. He knows how to get guys out, and it's going to be up to us to make the adjustments and go up there and find a way to beat him.
Rays had some shots early. We'll see how they fare from this point on, guys.
Yeah, they had the bases loaded in each of the first and second innings and got just one run out of that. They left a man on in the third. Mastriani stays on to play right field as we play here in the bottom of the fourth. The pitch ran for Reimold, who left with an injury in the top half of the inning. Mark Burley on the hill, the veteran left-hander, 35 years old. Rays have 6 hits off him, but just 1 run. Rays got that run in the first on a sacrifice fly from Evan Longoria. Now Burley dealing with the 7, 8, and 9 hitters in the Rays lineup here in the fourth. You can see what he's done the last 2 times out against the Rays. He threw that perfect game against the Rays in 2009, and the Rays over 5 starts following that did pretty well against him, beat him 3 times in those 5 starts. Rasmus in center field handles this one, and that's 1 away here in the bottom of the fourth. And the Rays came back with a couple wins. And now Burley off a couple wins and pitching well again tonight.
You think about the first time the Rays faced him, where, let's see, he went 8 2/3, scoreless baseball, struck out 11 in that game. Now, that was his first start of the year. Since then, he's struck out 6 2 different times. That's the closest he's gotten. I don't think we've seen him in the last number of years outside of that perfect game any better than he was in his first start of the season here at Tropicana Field. But you're right, he's started to put it together again, and it goes back to what Ben Zobrist said. Knows what he's doing out there. Moves the ball around. Savvy veteran, knows how to pitch. That's how he continues to get outs.
There's a strike to Molina. The count is 1-1. How about this? That's his range. And the range critical for him.
Listen, add 10 to each. We'd be real happy with a pitcher out there that was 95 to 77.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? 85 to 67 can be just as effective if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And tell me, watch an at-bat here, and tell me if there's a rhyme or reason to what he's doing. If you can figure it out, what the next pitch will be.
Molina fouls this one in on him.
The swing, the hand comes off the bat. We saw the swing from Sean Rodriguez where he kind of looked out at him like, what? He gets a 83, 84 mile an hour fastball, up and away to Evan Longoria. Just moving the ball around, cutting it, changing speeds, change up. Just can never pin him down.
So he goes 3-2 to Molina, who's had some success against him, including a base hit in the second inning. He came into this game 13 out of 42 against him, which was a 308 average. And strike 3 called on the outside corner. Molina taking a mild exception to that call, but he's out of there.
Now you got a guy working quickly, throwing a lot of strikes. Those borderline pitches a lot of times are going to go your way. If you're out on the hill, that may have been off the plate a touch, but because of all those other variables, he ends up getting the call.
Here's Logan Forsythe. First pitch is a strike.
The frustrating thing is we saw early on the Rays with a pretty good approach off of him, trying to stay patient, use the other part of the field, and they had some opportunities, and those quickly dried up because of big pitches made by Burley in big spots, holding him just to 1 run. And now you're starting to see him what you don't want to see. Starting to put together some good sequences and getting some quick outs.
This is what you were afraid of. Especially the Rays loaded the bases with nobody out to start the first. And they got the run on Longoria's sacrifice fly. Then he got the double play ball out of Loney. There's a base hit into right. Forsythe 2 for 2. 2-out single. Both his hits have been the other way.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it. Look at him just wait on that curveball to come into the zone and then use right field and a base hit. So you extend this inning, and now you get Kevin Kiermaier, who's going to get his first look at Burley.
He's in the spot originally occupied by Desmond Jennings. Desmond opened the first with a base hit, scored a run. Walked in the second after fouling a pitch off his left knee, and then left as the team went out to take the field in the third. Kiermaier replacing him in center field, and there's a strike to Kevin Kiermaier. Two.
Now, very good changeup there by Burley, and he is not afraid to go left on left changeup. You're going to see anything that a right-hander will see, a left-hander will see also.
Runner at first, 2 outs, top of the order. Kevin Kiermaier up there. Kiermaier punches one through. And the Rays now, as they play here in the 8th inning, have 8 hits and a walk off Burley, but 1 run.
Yeah, well, here, look at nice shot by Kiermaier, staying down and through that good 2-strike approach. Falling behind quickly, but look at him stay on that pitch, go right back up the middle. I'm telling you, the Rays have used up the middle the other way tremendously. What they've struggled with, obviously, is the runners in scoring position and the opportunities, and that's something that Burley has excelled at this year. They need the big hit, the breakthrough hit.
Ben Zobrist. The pitch is down. Boy, and you alluded to it early, where he will take advantage of a hitter in a run scoring situation. That hitter up there wanting to drive in the run, and no one knows that more than Burley. And that's the basis of how he goes about his work.
That's exactly right, and he has held the opposition to an average of 174 coming into play in those situations. That's tremendous.
And a nice job by Zobrist laying off these pitches. It's now 3-0.
This is where you can poke, break through, and start to make up some ground. You're going to get something out over the plate, or the bases are going to be loaded here.
Well, he gets a call there. 3-0, 3-1 now. Just outside of third. So now the count is back to full.
This is where you start to think about a changeup there. Ben out in front. He's going to tell himself now, stay back, stay back, stay back. And this is where Burley tried to squeeze that 83-84 and pop it right by you. Try to catch you flat-footed.
Forsythe, the runner at second. Kiermaier, the runner at first. 2 outs and a full count. Runners are off, and the pitch lined into left, a base hit. Here comes Forsythe in to score. Kiermaier to third. Throw goes there. Into second goes Zobrist, and the Rays make it 5-2.
Well, Ben was on the same wavelength because that's exactly what Burley tried to do. Catch him by surprise with the fastball, 83, but he was right on it. Lines it out there. Good hustle by Kiermaier, running with 2 outs. He's able to get to third, and that allows Zobrist to get up there to second base.
So base hit for Ben. He gets the run batted in as Forsythe scores. Ben goes to second on the throw to third.
And it was the hustle of Kiermaier that caused the throw to third. It should have never have gone there. Because by doing that, now look, get another runner in scoring position and a base hit here. And it's a new ball game.
Makes it a 1-run ball game here. And Geyer 2 for 2 tonight. 1-0 the count. High fly ball, left center. That's Rasmus to make the catch. And the Rays score 1, leave 2, and trail by 3 through 4. Game of this series against Toronto. Now time for you to tweet your photo using hashtag #SunSportsFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown in our broadcast later in the game. Brought to you by AT&T. Well, the Rays got one of those runs back. Logan Forsythe scoring the run. Forsythe, by the way, with a multi-hit game tonight. That's 10 multi-hit games for him in his last 19. Well, he gets the start tonight. Second base. 2 for 2 with a run scored. Melky Cabrera leads off the 5th. 1 ball, no strikes. Cabrera is 1 out of 2 at a base hit over second up the middle in the 3rd inning. Shortens on the bat, takes ball 2, 2-0. Baltimore batting in the bottom of the 5th inning. They're tied with the Yankees 2-2. Ryan Roberts and Kelly Johnson have home runs in that game. There's a base hit. Cabrera is on for the 2nd time. Ryan Roberts going back to Baltimore, and he hit that home run on the first pitch he saw back in Baltimore.
Fine welcome.
Yeah, really. So the Orioles now batting in the bottom of the 5th, tied with New York 2-2. Jose Bautista. Pitch is down. Bautista got a run home on a fly ball in the third. Struck out in the second inning. Foul ball back. Let him go on that one.
Did you see Molina, as he was getting ready to throw the ball back to Chris, kind of put his glove down like, you know, let's get that one down. Might want to stay out of that area with this guy.
That's right. Cesar Ramos now up, starting to throw in the Rays bullpen. Archer at 80 pitches, facing his second hitter in the fifth inning. And boy, Bautista turned it loose again on the fastball.
Flirting with disaster. Those are right into Bautista's wheelhouse. Now, he hasn't had much success. Does have a sacrifice fly in this game off Chris, but I wouldn't push it too much with those.
A 1-2 count. Two and two. Leonardo Navarro on deck. Into left field. Geyer to make the catch. Geyer got back and in good position to make the catch, and Cabrera doesn't think about doing anything but retreating to first.
Well, this is how Archer's going to attack Bautista. Slider down and away, ball one, and then comes the heaters. Middle, just above the belt. A couple of foul balls. One there gets banged down by Molina, and then another slider, and that was not the sharpest of sliders. Does lead to a fly ball out.
Leonardo Navarro takes a pitch up and away. 1 ball, no strikes. Balls, no strikes. Gets a strike call on the fastball.
Now, what Chris could use right here is a good pitch down in the zone, get Navarro to hit it into the ground, get you a double play here, and get out of this inning, let your offense go back to work. Toronto Blue Jays, after the first couple of innings, have really forced the game upon Chris, taking advantage of some untimely walks.
Navarro sends it into right center, where Zobrist makes the call and the catch. 2 away with Cabrera back at first, and the hitter will be the right fielder Mastroianni. Love rock and roll? Don't miss the Joan Jett and the Blackhearts post-game concert tomorrow. First catch the Rays take on the Blue Jays, and then stick around to see Joan Jett sing some of her biggest hits, including I Love Rock and Roll and Bad Reputation. For tickets, visit RaysBaseball.com/concerts or call 888-FAN-RAYS. Mastriani entered as a pinch runner in the fourth. 1 ball, no strikes. Pitching matchup for tomorrow's game. David Price goes for number 9. Drew Hutchison will do the pitching for the Blue Jays. Our coverage begins at 3:30 tomorrow. One ball, one strike.
A lot of work there in the third and the fourth inning. Well, that fourth inning too, it started off with a walk to Nolan Reimold. That hurt. Also a walk to Dan Johnson hitting in the 8-hole, and just one hit. Jose Reyes a single, and that drove in 2.
The strike on the outside edge. 1-2. Runner goes, pitches high, throw down, got him. Cabrera caught stealing. Forsythe taking the throw from Molina. The runs ahead of caught stealing. Therefore, nobody left on base. 5-2 Toronto. Bottom of the 5th coming. For the 5th inning against the veteran left-hander Mark Burley. Evan Longoria is set to lead off against him. Evan drove in the first run of this game with a sacrifice fly. Takes the pitch in there for a strike to begin the home half of the 5th.
When the Rays need to just keep pressing. Right now the math does not add up. 9 hits, just 2 runs.
Fly ball, right field. Mastriani is there. And with that, the Rays have left 7. 5-6-0 for the Blue Jays. 2-9-0 for the Rays. James Loney. Strike 1, first pitch strike. Archer finished off the 5th inning on a caught stealing. Loney pops it foul. That will carry into the stands. And now with Loney up here and 1 out in the bottom of the 5th, Cesar Ramos is up again in the bullpen.
Now the ways that Rays typically run their bullpen and run their operation, you would think that he would be coming in the ballgame.
Lifted into center. Rasmus, a couple steps to his right. 2 away. Well, the Rays have had a great run at home against the Blue Jays, especially beginning back with what you could call the breakout season for the Rays in 2008. Rodriguez pops it up, foul ball. Batista's after it. That'll be out number 3. Sean Rodriguez out on the first pitch. We head into the 6th. 5-2 Toronto. Baseball on Sun Sports, presented by Nissan. Get to your local Nissan store for the ride of your life and save big tonight. Choose Nissan.com. Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. When cancer strikes, strike back with CyberKnife. Available exclusively at Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. And by Wesley Chapel Toyota and Wesley Chapel Honda, home of the lifetime warranty. I-75 North, exit 279. Cesar Ramos will be the new pitcher. On to face Mastriani. Fouls the first pitch right back into the screen. So Ramos in here and place of Chris Archer.
Well, he comes on for the 28th time. It's 60 1/3. He had that stint as a starting pitcher, I believe 7 starts.
It's 1-1.
This is where your bullpen is going to have to eat at least 4 innings, and you're hoping that they're very good innings to give you a chance to get back into this game and start seeing the season.
It's a ball, 2 strikes, 5 innings for Archer. Oviedo up in the bullpen.
It'll be interesting too to see, you know, what Joe Maddon does with this bullpen, because you've got some important games here. You're playing a man down in the pen. You know, Yanel Escobar activated Jake McGee to the paternity list, so that's one guy out of the bullpen.
Foul ball down in the Toronto bullpen where Chad Jenkins is loosening.
Now, both of these managers desperate for wins going into the All-Star break. The Rays looking to continue their climb in the division. The Blue Jays trying to throw out the brakes and stop their skid.
Fly ball to right. And Zobrist one away. It's going to bring up Kobe Rasmus. Rasmus singled to open the third. That led to a 3-run inning. Pitch is low. So again on Archer, 5 innings, 5 runs, 6 hits. He walked 3, struck out 7. Ramos falling behind the left-handed bat of Rasmus, 2-0. Down 3 balls, no strikes. Dan Johnson on deck. He did come back here as a member of the Orioles, but starting as the DH tonight for the Blue Jays. There's a strike. 3-1. A struggle on the road recently for the Blue Jays, but they're up tonight. Chopper into shallow right field. Forsythe right there, positioned perfectly. 2 gone. And we'll check in with Todd Callis. Todd?
Yeah, Dwayne, the one seat that's painted white here beyond the outfield wall is exactly where Dan Johnson hit it the last time he had an official at bat in this building. You mentioned he was here with the Orioles. So far tonight, didn't play in that series, and tonight a couple of walks. There it was, guys. September 28, 2011. Rays not only down to their last out, down to their last strike. At the time, there was a rain delay in Baltimore with the Red Sox leading, so they thought momentarily that saved the season for the Rays. As it turns out, the Rays would go on to advance that night because Boston would lose after not having any games all year long where the Red Sox led going into the ninth. If they lost, they would lose that night. But Johnson on the last strike of the last game, game 162, gave the Rays another life. He didn't hit a lot of home runs with Tampa Bay, but they were all large, guys.
Yeah, and playing tonight here at Tropicana Field in a game for the first time since then.
It never gets old, too, when you see him come around and come back into the dugout. The look of exasperation on the face of Joe Maddon, realizing how close they were to being done, and yet new life breathed into this team. And just, you can imagine how hard he was managing that game and the nerves that go into games like that.
One ball, one strike, the count to Johnson. Juan Francisco, the number 9 hitter, is on deck. just behind him. More action down in the bullpen. That's Cecil, the left-hander. Jenkins had been up getting loose already. Brett Cecil loosening now. That takes the count all the way to 3-2.
When you talk, Dwayne, about this Blue Jay team struggling on the road, they've lost 13 of their last 17 over that span. That's the worst in Major League Baseball. And they have struggled in this building. That Rays have owned them here at Tropicana Field.
3-2. And there is ball 4. A 2-out walk. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, how the Rays, if you go back to 08, look how close this pitch is. Just missed. Here at the Trop. They've gone 43-16 against the Blue Jays here at Tropicana Field.
How many series now in a row? 20? 21 series where the worst they've done is split. In fact, I think they split a series with them this year, a 4-gamer, 2-2.
Yeah.
I haven't lost a series to them here in the last
21.
There you go.
Yeah. 21 consecutive series without losing one.
That's a long time. Well, you figure you're going to get 3 series here a year, so you're looking at 7 years worth without having dropped one. That is impressive.
Want to know the count to Juan Francisco.
He's like, would you throw me a fastball? Anybody.
Yep.
That's what scouting reports are all about. A guy that you'll show a fastball to every now and then, but off speed, usually the name of the game. This may be one here coming in. There you go.
And he takes it for a strike.
I'll tell you, Caesar does that as well as anybody. He's willing to do it, and he does it well. Left on left, pitch in. A lot of left-handed hitters against left-handed pitchers look middle away because that's where the majority of pitches are going to be. But Ramos not afraid to go in. He'll double up, sometimes even triple up. He's going to go right back in there now.
And he got him. Came right back with a couple fastballs. Strikes him out with that. Bottom of the 6th coming. 5-2 Toronto. Bottom of the 6th inning. Fans, the All-Star game on Fox less than a week away. Tune in tomorrow at 10 p.m. to relive some of the All-Star Game's greatest moments with a behind-the-scenes glimpse into the fun and pageantry surrounding the Midsummer Classic. And at 11 p.m., we give you a sneak peek into the players who'll take the field for both the American and National Leagues. Our MLB All-Star Specials start tomorrow at 10 p.m. Coverage can also be found on Fox Sports 1. Chad Jenkins. And the first pitch there for a strike. Jenkins replaces Mark Burley.
Mark Burley, a workmanlike effort out there tonight. 5 innings, just the 2 runs, but he gave up 9 hits, had to work himself out of trouble, which he's done very well with that all season long. And again tonight, now going to turn it over to the Toronto bullpen and see if the Rays here can make some headway against whatever John Gibbons has coming out at them. Starting here with Jenkins.
Well, 93 pitches for Burley. Twice in the first 2 innings he had the bases loaded behind him. Surrendered just a run in the first. Also had 3 base runners in the 4th total, and the Rays did get a run in that inning as well off him. 3 hits in that inning. So 5 innings, 2 runs, 9 hits off Burley, 3 strikeouts and a walk. And a ground ball to the right side. Escobar has himself a base hit. So the Rays are now in double figures. They have 10 hits, 1 hitter into the 6th, and only 2 runs.
How many? 7, 8, 9 the other way or up the middle? I'll tell you, they have been wearing out the other side of the field tonight. Does it again right there. Yanel Escobar, another leadoff hit here at the bottom of the order.
So that's 7 of the 10 hits up the middle or the other way, and 1 of those hits a bunt. So that accounts for 8 of them. Now Molina singled into left back in the 2nd.
See, that's where those lessons learned when you and Todd were teaching everybody how to score, where you've got that all down. You've got that all down, and you can come up with it right now.
Just a little note to self once in a while. There's a strike, and as each year passes, I find that there's a greater need for that.
More and more notes.
More and more notes to self.
You got a contract with Post-it?
Might not be a bad idea.
Sponsored by?
You can make a suit out of those notes. A ball, 2 strikes. Logan Forsythe on deck. Rays have had men on base in 5 of the 6 innings. They went down 1, 2, 3 in the 5th. Left men on base in every inning except the 5th. Leadoff base hit here in this inning. Molina hits one back into left. Cabrera to the wall, a leap, and he makes the catch. And back to first goes Escobar. How about that? A drive off the bat of Molina, and Cabrera, as he approached the wall on the warning track with that leaping catch to retire the Rays catcher.
Well, for a few seconds it looked awfully good for the Rays. This ball's well struck by Molina and driven. We'll see where this pitch is going to end up. Doesn't ever get away. Stays down and in. Molina lifts it. Cabrera able to run it down. I'll tell you, he spun 2 off this wall and took a throwback in trying to get Escobar off of first. Escobar was way off first base. You'll see him trotting back into first right here as that ball gets cut.
Logan Forsythe. Logan 2 for 2. It was a double and a single. Scored in the 4th inning. And is ahead in the count 1-0. Ground ball headed to short. Reyes quickly safe at second. Kawasaki took the toss. And Escobar is safe there. So Forsythe is out at first. 6-4-3 as the Blue Jays attempt to turn a quick double play. And here comes John Gibbons out.
Boy, a lot closer than you would have thought with a runner in motion and that ball not hit that hard. Becomes a close play. Looked like Escobar was in there.
So the Rays with a runner at second, 2 outs, pitching change coming. Back right after this. With Kevin Kiermaier. Kiermaier hits it on the ground to Kawasaki, whose throw to first is in time, and the Rays leave a man at second. We go to the 7th, 5-2 Toronto. the first on this sacrifice fly. A bases loaded fly ball to right from Longoria. Blue Jays back with a 3-run third. Kawasaki single scored a run. Cabrera followed with an RBI base hit. And then Bautista's fly ball to right made it 3-1. Base hit in the fourth inning by Jose Reyes. Chased home 2. And a single in the bottom of the fourth by Zobrist. Scored Logan Forsythe. It's 5-2. That's the scores. We go to the 7th. Ramos delivers and Reyes pops it up. A foul ball straight back and out of play. Top of the order, Reyes, Kawasaki, and Cabrera due up. Cesar Ramos worked a scoreless 6th inning. Walked 1, struck out 1 in that frame, and now deals with Reyes. It's 1-1. Bunts and does so foul.
Yeah, and I think that he thought that he had a great chance at a hit there. Trying to catch the Rays by surprise and get a speedy base runner aboard early. Squares around late. You see Evan was charging in, had a pretty good head start towards that potential bunt. That would have been interesting. Is so dangerous. You got to keep him off the base paths, especially now with so many of their hitters out.
Yeah, he's 17 out of 18 in the running game.
Yeah.
So Dustin McGowan throwing in the bullpen. The Rays have Oviedo up again in their pen down the right side.
He's one of those guys that makes things happen. That's why it's so important that he stay healthy amidst all these injuries. The stolen base, the threat of the stolen base.
Another foul ball. Reyes just turned 31 years old last month. You think of the run of seasons he had after he came to the big leagues with the Mets. Topped out at 204 hits one year with them. Ground ball to second. Forsythe handles that. Reyes is the first out in the 7th.
Second baseman, Kawasaki.
Now it's Munenori Kawasaki. He's singled in a run in the 3rd. Twice has struck out. A strike. Kawasaki got to the big leagues with Seattle last year, part of the season, better part of the year with the Blue Jays last year. 1-1. Well, 2 balls and a strike. Cabrera on deck. The Rays have now out-hit the Blue Jays 10-6, but they trail 5-2. It's a strike. The count is full. Tapper. Ramo's going to tag him in the running lane. That's out number 2. It's Rays Flex Friday. Check out today's winner for the final Rays Flex Friday of the year. It's your last chance to get your Rays Flex pack. Sales in this Sunday. So pick up yours today at RaysBaseball.com before it's too late. Cabrera.
The difference is those 6 hits, the Blue Jays have added on 4 walks with 10 base runners. The Rays with just 1 walk, so 11-10 in base runners, and it's that runners in scoring position starts to bite you once again.
The count to Cabrera.
And what really hurts is 3 of the walks for the Blue Jays have come from 6 through the 8 holes.
Yep.
Yeah, Dan Johnson has now walked 3 times. He's not put a ball in play in this game. He's hitting 8.
One ball, 1 strike.
And the frustration starts to build when you just go back to that 4th inning. Nolan Reimold, who had not shown anything that thought he was going to be able to hit Chris Archer, takes a walk. Dan Johnson walks in that inning, and then a ground ball by Francisco puts runners at 2nd and 3rd with 2 outs, and then Jose Reyes gets a mistake out over the plate. 1 hit, 1 single, 2 runs. And those are the little things that start to add up, and now you find yourself in a 3-run deficit.
Yeah, that in the aftermath of loading the bases in the very first inning with nobody out, the middle of your order coming up, and you get 1 out of that. Then you load them again in the 2nd inning. Nada. That's exactly what you fear. It's 1 and 2 to Cabrera. Strike 3 call. He's out of there. 7th inning stretch time. 5-2 Toronto. Vince Zobrist opens the bottom of the 7th inning with the Rays down by 3. Steve Tollefson takes over at second base for Kawasaki. Cecil, the lefty. And he throws Zobrist to strike. It's 1-1 Ben, followed by Brandon Guyer and Evan Longoria.
Nice job by Cesar Ramos so far, keeping his team in the game and giving the Rays another opportunity here, down just by 3.
1-2 here on Zobrist.
Sometimes those outings get kind of lost because you're down, team is down, fans are feeling down. You just quietly come in, throw up some zeros, give yourself a chance to hang around, and you never know what might happen as you try to get into this Blue Jay bullpen.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Shot into center field. Rasmus going back all the way to the track, and in front of the center field cutout makes that catch. Pretty good shot there by Zobrist for the first out of the inning.
You know, the last week or so we've seen some balls hit very well out towards center field here and just not get anywhere.
Yep.
I mean, really, and this might be the deepest of the bunch. This one actually looked like it may have landed on the warning track, and it would have. That's not carrying to center.
That's a pretty good shot out there in that direction. Guyer to Reyes, and Reyes to Bautista. 2 outs. That's why when during batting practice in the Kansas City series, Billy Butler, who hadn't been producing extra base hits, he had a couple over the cutout there in center field.
That's right.
You know, if you're Kansas City, you're going, oh my gosh. I mean, pretty good shot even in BP. Pitching change coming here for Toronto. 5-2, Blue Jays lead the Rays. Against the Blue Jays. Rays got a run in the first, but the Blue Jays scored 3 in the third, and it's now 5-2 as Dustin McGowan makes his 30th appearance of the year for Toronto.
Well, he's got 7 decisions, 4-3, 3.84, 61 innings. Walk total at 23, 42 strikeouts. Now he comes into a situation here. This is how you want to face Evan Longoria, nobody on, and the Rays, who a couple of times tonight have, with 2 outs, nobody on, started to put something together. Going to try to do that again here.
This pitch is a ball outside. McGowan, 32 years old. One.
Well, he's got a big fastball. We've seen that already. Mid-90s, right-handed hitters. He's mostly fastball slider about 99% of the time. We'll drop the change up to the lefties.
Foul ball, straight back, just above us. And the count is 1-2. You're the Gold Glove winner in the booth, by the way.
Yeah, no. I thought we had a shot. I thought we had a shot. I had some hair on it, too.
It's upstairs. 2-2. Boy, it's been quite a run for Dustin McGowan, a battle he was so highly thought of when he was selected in the first round by the Blue Jays, and then initially some elbow concerns and a lot of shoulder issues, and he actually lost 3 separate seasons and has stayed with it and has battled to get healthy and stay that way. Now a full count. See another 3-2 pitch. McGowan missed 2009 and 2010 because of shoulder issues, and missed the entire 2012 season. Foul ball, big cut on that fastball. That fastball right there, he's back here. That one hit 96.
He just drives the ball to its spot, and Evan just able to get a piece of it.
Lines it foul. And beyond the bullpen. There's ball 4. Extended at bat by Longoria. 9 pitches to draw the walk. Second walk given up tonight by Toronto pitching. Aaron Luke down in the bullpen. Pete Walker, the pitching coach, heads to the mound.
And you got Loney coming to the plate, and you're thinking of potentially Loop on Loney. But obviously Gibbons not on his way out there quite yet. Loop, a nasty lefty.
Well, this 2-out walk gives the Rays another base runner. They've had men on base in every inning except the 5th.
And a lot of times waiting until there's 2 outs to get something going. And here it is again. They're going to stay with McGowan on Loney. Loney, he's tough on anybody, so you pick your poison with him.
Pitch is low. Ball, no strikes. Rays. It's 1-1.
Definitely gets played. Does it get zone? Nicks it.
It's 2-1. Sean Rodriguez on deck. Three balls and a strike. And there's ball 4. McGowan has issued back-to-back walks.
Well, hear it again. The Rays 2 outs, nobody on. Instant 2 base runners. Dustin McGowan cannot find the strike zone. And that last pitch was aimed badly. There was no drive on that pitch, not letting it go anymore.
Well, Sean Rodriguez looked back over that right shoulder to see if Joe Madden want to go to the bench.
No way.
The answer is no.
I'll tell you, I wouldn't go either. You bring in a lefty, you're going to go up against Loop. Loop's nasty. So I'll take the righty on righty who can't find the strike zone. Sean Rodriguez, listen, half of his home runs have come off righties. He gets it head in the count here. He's got a shot.
He's up here against McGowan. Fouls it back. Boy, he's swinging on that first pitch fastball.
Yes, sir.
Like what he saw.
Yeah, and why not, man? You got a chance here. One swing, tie this baby up. And he gets one to handle. You got a guy out there struggling with the zone, but at the same time, you know he's going to throw one over the plate, or he's got to. And if he does, let it go.
Down and away. Vieto in the bullpen. Now Boxberger has joined him. The right-hander McGowan, and Joe Madden's confidence in him pays dividends here in this matchup. Home run number 9 to tie it at 5.
Well, really, there was no decision to make. The lefty on Loop just was not going to work. You've got a McGowan you got a right-hander McGowan out there that's struggling with command, not showing any confidence in his pitches, and Rodriguez has hit righties with some power. He does it again in a brand new game.
So the blast by Sean Rodriguez makes it a 5-5 game. 1-0 the count to Escobar. Boy, Sean had a great cut on that first pitch, and on the 1-1 lands it deep into the seats and left. Two balls and a strike now with that foul ball. The right side, that ball's going to be out of play. Well, the Rays, after opportunities throughout this game, throughout the evening, and a number of them with 2 outs, finally cash it in on one swing of the bat from Sean Rodriguez.
Well, you let a team hang around. You bring in McGowan with 2 outs, nobody on. Walk. Not good walks. And then a bad miss to Rodriguez, and here you go. All the momentum. See, I mean, these misses they've been very erratic with the command, and even a couple of pitches where it looks like he's just trying to aim and lay that ball in there. Another one right there. I mean, that ball is just straight aim. There was no aggressiveness on that pitch. Just trying to aim it in there, and didn't have it tonight.
Well, here comes Gibbons. Walk, home run, and another walk. That's it for McGowan. Back in a moment. Tonight for the Rays has belted a 3-run home run here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Not this game at 5. McGowan walked Escobar. Now Molina's due up. Aaron Luke, the left-hander, follows McGowan.
You can see with his walk numbers, he has a tendency to get a little wild. Although Dustin McGowan really struggling with command, and like, see a number of those pitches were aimed in there, missing wildly. You had to make this move.
Molina's 1 for 3. Luke misses the zone wide. Three and 0. Luke can't find the zone here against Molina.
I mean, 2 outs, nobody on, and you're looking at a potential for 4 walks and a home run. I'll tell you, Rays.
Three and 1. The count is full. Rays threatened, loaded the bases with 2 outs in the 2nd, did not score. Scored a run after 2 men were out in the 4th inning. And a scored 3 with 2 men out here in the 7th. And strike 3 call to Molina. So he's out on strikes to end the inning. But the Rays come up with 3 on one swing of the bat from Sean Rodriguez. We're through 7, tied 5-5. And as promised earlier in this contest, we have the AT&T fan photo of the game. Tweet your photo to #SunSportsFanPhoto for a chance to be shown in an upcoming game broadcast brought to you by AT&T. It's Brad Boxberger making his 35th appearance of the year.
Now that right there, Brad Boxberger, very proficient at missing bats. 52 strikeouts from those 35 2/3 innings. And I'll tell you what, new game, new life for this team. Good job by Cesar Ramos bridging the gap here to Boxberger as we're all tied up here in the 8th.
Ramos 2 scoreless innings, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. And the first pitch from Boxberger. Bautista's in there for a strike. Ground ball that's headed into center field. Forsythe pulled over on the shortstop side of the bag. He could not get there. Bautista has a leadoff base hit.
Bautista hit him where they ain't. And that was one of those shifts against the right-handed hitter. And you're right, Forsythe abandoning the right side, but that ball away, that's about the only place that Bautista could go. You see him find a base hit right there.
So he's 2 for 2 off Boxberger in his career. Here's Navarro. Leonard Navarro. First pitch strike. Navarro, nothing out of 3. Line to left, grounded to short, and a fly ball into right.
The Rays have swung everybody over on the right side now. You got Evan playing shortstop up the middle, And then right here you got Escobar, Forsythe. You'll see Boxberger trying to work soft. Down in the zone, fastball down and away. Get Navarro to roll over that. Look for a double play here. Boxberger has that good combination, changeup, fastball, and a lot of separation. We saw that changeup there at 79. That fastball, he'll get up 94, 95.
Up again, and it's foul. Squares the count to Navarro at 2-2.
This is where, you know, he kind of slings the ball and he kind of lull you to sleep with a few changeups. Now with 2 strikes, boy, he give you that 94, 95, and then jumps on you in a hurry. This may be the time to go to that, try to pick up the strikeout. See right here. I think that's the plan.
2 and a ground ball, double play ball. Out at second, out at first. The Rays get that double play. Escobar shaded over to the first base side of second in the shift.
Well, did go back with the fastball, and Bonus got the ground ball right here, and Escobar wisely just takes it himself, cut out the middleman, and turn 2.
Mastriani fouls it. And Mastriani is 0 for 1 in this game. Took over in right field for Reimold. Entered the game running for Reimold at third base in the top of the 4th. 0-2. Mastriani fighting to stay alive on that fastball. In on him at 95 as he fouls it.
You go into defense mode, 0-2. You're just trying to put a ball in play and hope to find a hole somewhere.
Chopper to first, fair. A race to the bag, safe, the call. Mastriani getting down there on that slow chopper. And Loney went to the bag with his mitt. Now we're in the 8th. And Madden's going to come out here and talk it over with Mike Everett, the crew chief, to see if he will take another look at this.
Mastriani hustling. You see, boy, oh boy, that is close. You know, Loney's going wide here to get out of his way, then reach back. Now it's worth a challenge, and I think that's what Joe Madden's going to do right here. That is awfully close.
Well, he's going to take a look at it. And boy, that is going to be close. So it'll be a challenge. Joe Madden issuing the challenge. Everett, the crew chief, made the initial call. Wow.
Now you can see the glove start to buckle there, which leads you to believe that it's in contact with the back of the bag. And if that's the case, it was there before the foot came down. So this absolutely could swing the Rays' way. Watch the glove start to buckle right here. Look at the webbing. See it start to buckle, and that leads you to believe. Now, is that enough? We will see. Some of these plays out in the field are so, you cannot make it. You slow it down, and it's beyond bang bang.
Yep. So try to make it in real time.
No doubt. Tough job.
Yeah, that clear and convincing. That's sometimes a strong burden.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you can talk about the buckle of a glove and was it back there. I mean, the point is you're right, on the field called safe.
Yeah.
So they've got to be absolutely convinced that that glove was on the back of that bag before the foot came down, and they're still not.
Yeah, you'd think either way at the most. Well, we'll wait and see. But it's so close.
Yeah, well, the one thing we do know is the gum is getting worked over very well right now. Doing some chomping.
They're taking a vote in Command Central.
Well, whoever the foreman is, not very convincing yet.
I mean, they are taking a good amount of time to decide this one. In the meantime, you have a pitcher out there on the mound who's trying to stay loose and in the game. And apparently we have a decision. And he's going to be safe. The call stands. So it's not confirmed. It was that clear and convincing that became a problem. And so the call stands. Well, the fans here don't like it. 3 minutes and 34 seconds, and we'll zoom in.
Right there's where you make your case. The gloves on the back of the bag. They're obviously not convinced, especially to overturn a call. Boy, that is so close. And now, Mastriani, you're thinking he's going to run here at some point. Keep your eye on him. He got down the line quickly, and no reason to think that they won't push the envelope here.
So it turns out to be a 2-out infield hit. Well, Rasmus is the hitter. And a move to first. Mastriani back in. Another move over there, and he's back. Brewers tied the game on the home run in the bottom of the 7th from Sean Rodriguez. Blue Jays have a base runner on the infield hit with 2 outs in the 8th. Here's the changeup. 0-2.
That's beautiful. Beautiful execution by Boxberger. Need one more.
The toss to first. Rasmus takes the pitch wide. Boxberger and Rasmus hooking up for the first time. Batista single. Navarro hit into the double play. Then the infield hit by Mastriani. He's gone. Good jump. Pitch is a strike. And so Rasmus is out of there to retire the side. It's Academic down at second. We'll go into the bottom of the 8th. Tied 5-5.
Bottom of the 8th here from the Drop on Sun Sports. Coming up tomorrow on the pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers, David Price, the Rays All-Star, will be making the start. He's 14-2 career against the Blue Jays, and I'm sure the requisite hemming and hawing about will this be his final start at home will take place in the pregame show.
All right, Rich, we'll all be zeroed in on that one when tomorrow rolls around. Right now, the bottom of the 8th, this game is tied 5-5. Aaron Luke facing Logan Forsythe. He fouls it back. It's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Grant Balfour up in the Rays bullpen. Luke got Molina looking on strikes to end the 3-run 7th. Forsythe already with 2 hits in this game, 2 out of 3. Another multi-hit game for the Rays infielder.
Well, he should get good looks here at Luke with that arm angle. Look for him to try to make it shoot on the other way. Maybe take a walk.
Yep.
Hey, who knows? Base run.
Work.
That's all you need. Rays have been able to do that tonight.
It's going to be foul out of play. Luke followed McGowan, who walked 2 men, gave up the home run, and then walked another man before he left. Loop came in and fell behind Molina, but came back to strike him out looking. Now he's 3-2 with Forsythe. Logan sends it up the right side. That ball is going to be out of the reach of Mastriani. Balfour down there on the mound. Mastriani trying to negotiate his way through the bullpen area.
Enemy territory. The Aussie getting ready.
Balfour yelled something at him as he went by. All is good.
Well, that's what you expect.
3-2 lifted into center field. Rasmus is there. That's out number 1.
Center fielder, number 39, Kevin Kiermaier.
Kevin Kiermaier. Kiermaier has a single back in the 4th. Did not start this game. He entered defensively initially after Desmond Jennings had fouled the ball off his left knee back in the 2nd. 1-1 count.
I think that's what you would call a sweeping breaking ball. But yanked that one right out of the screen. And that's what Loop will do against these lefties. The fastball, the slider, sweep it, the arm angle. Makes it difficult upon him.
Now a ball, 2 strikes. Is a tough angle for a left-handed hitter. And Kiermaier hanging in there to foul it.
That's your only chance, is to really keep that front side closed and in there, because he's going to give the appearance of him almost releasing the baseball from behind you. And so you've really got to stay locked in on that release point and stay in there.
Oh, look at that. Strike 3. The breaking ball got him.
He started it at him. That's what makes him so effective against the lefties and so difficult. Watch where he starts this pitch. And you just kind of lock up. That is just a nasty pitch.
Oh, this will be great.
Breaks it around the plate.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't anywhere near it. Yeah. It creates that illusion, you know, because it ends up in the middle of the catcher's body. And so you're like, well, it's right there over the plate.
Zobrist. And with a couple hits, 2 out of 4, and a run batted in. And started the night hitting over 340 against lefties. There's a strike. Baltimore beat the Yankees in 10, 5-4. Walk-off base hit by Nick Hundley. Now it's 1-2. And Boston's in Houston leading 5-1 in the top of the 6th inning of that game. A 2-2 count. Force another 2-2 pitch. Count is full. Baltimore started the day with a 3-game lead over Toronto, 4 on New York, 9.5 over the Rays and the Red Sox. Up the right side, that's going to be a foul ball. Out of play. So right now, the Orioles lead the Blue Jays by 3.5 and the Yankees by 5. At the moment, the Rays and Red Sox are each 10 back after the Baltimore win. And strike 3 on the cut and a miss. Fastball up. 1, 2, 3, go the Rays. We go to the 9th, 5-5 ball game. Tied 5-5. Practice your jump shots with the Yudel Escobar basketball set presented by Sun Sports. Sunday, July 13th. The kids 14 and under while supplies last. Members of the Disney Junior Show, the Octonauts, will also be on hand throughout the game to meet fans. For tickets, visit RaysBaseball.com or call 888-FAN-RAYS. Grant Balfour to face Dan Johnson. The pitch is upstairs, a ball and no strikes. Johnson just selected by the Blue Jays today from their AAA affiliate in Buffalo.
See, he's still looking to put a ball in play.
3 walks and 2 runs scored. And 2 balls, no strikes.
Well, you could see, you know, Balfour, he works the outside corner against lefties very well. Dan Johnson right up on top of the plate looking for one mistake.
And there's ball 3. Balfour's 37th appearance. And there's ball 4. So Dan Johnson making his first appearance here at Tropicana Field in a game since that pinch hit home run against the Yankees in game 162 back in 2011. Has just walked for the 4th consecutive time.
And leadoff walks, you'd like to avoid those, and you got Francisco up here. It's a guy looking for a fastball. Has not seen many tonight. Cesar Ramos threw him a couple really good left-on-left fastballs in to strike him out.
Francisco takes the pitch. It's a strike at the knees.
And a slider by Balfour to start him off, staying away from that heater once again. That seems to be the obvious Rays game plan here. A lot of off speed to Francisco, try to keep him off the straight stuff.
0-2 now. Johnson running at first after drawing the walk. And a cut and a miss. Francisco out on strikes. And Balfour finished him off with a fastball.
Yep, he got him chasing too. Opened up that zone. You see where Molina's setting? Powers that fastball right there off the plate away. And gets Francisco going out after it. That's a nice job there of getting ahead, setting him up, putting him away.
And you've got Johnson, the DH, who walked. There's no one else really to pinch run if they wanted to upgrade their speed. They have 2 catchers left on the bench. Reyes taking a pitch low. 1 ball, no strikes. They had to use Tollison because Kawasaki left with a physical issue. It's a little low. 2 balls, no strikes. Mastriani came off the bench. He had to run and enter the game replacing Reimold, who had a physical issue as well. They have Eric Kratz and Josh Tolley, 2 catchers left on their bench. 2-1 now.
You see the Rays middle infielders kind of pinch there up the middle. Reyes, he'll hit the ball all over the place. Short and quick to the baseball.
Line shot up the right side, back toward the corner. Zobrist picks it up on the track. Now they're going to hold Johnson at third. Rivera came way down the line, the third base coach, and put the stop sign up for him on the double for Reyes.
Well, you talk about short and quick to the baseball. This pitch meant to be away. It breaks down middle of the plate. And just a sweeping swing there by Reyes. Catches it, gets it down into the corner, and the Blue Jays threaten here in the ninth. And there's that, you're limited with who you could throw in there for Dan Johnson. With him not being able to make it, maybe this comes back and helps out the Rays here with him being stuck at third. But you need a big strikeout now, and the Rays are going to pull that infield in. Look for something on the ground early, and if Grant can get ahead, try to put him away.
Now Steve Tollison will be the hitter. He entered the game replacing Kawasaki.
Well, they've got the infield in and shifted over on Tollison. James Loney, the only guy on the right side, all by himself here. Everybody else picket fence.
The pitch is a strike.
This is where it comes down. You talk about execution. Tollison looking for something up that he can get to the outfield. Balfour going to try to work down in the zone, keep it on the ground until he gets to 2 strikes. If he gets to 2 strikes, and then try to put him away. The game within the game right here.
Balfour stepping back here. These 2 matching up for the first time, Balfour and Tollison. started to go, but checks. 1-1. Big threat by Toronto in the 9th inning. Two balls and a strike. Inning opened on the walk to Dan Johnson. With one out, he was doubled to third by Jose Reyes. And Molina will head to the mound now to get together with Balfour.
Yeah, a little indecision here, trying to get together on the same page. You know, Balfour primarily, fastball slider. And Grant, you can see when the arm goes up, he's doing a lot of the talking with Molina here on what they want to do. These are big pitches.
Yeah, and you definitely want them to be on the same page for a couple of reasons, and foremost in that is whatever pitch Balfour is going to throw, you want him completely satisfied that that's the pitch he wants to throw.
Yeah, he's got to be convinced. You would rather throw the wrong pitch with being convinced that it's right rather than throw the right pitch and be kind of iffy on it. Got to sell out.
And it's low. Just with the slider. Now 3-1. Melky Cabrera is on deck. That's in there. 3-2. Balfour sticking with the slider.
Yeah, and you know what? That was a 3-1 that Tollefson could have had a pretty good swing at. He takes it for a strike. Now he's probably kicking himself. He didn't swing at that pitch. So now you got a chance, if you're Balfour, to throw a borderline pitch and get him to swing at it. Maybe get something off the end of the bat. Maybe even pick up that strikeout.
3-2. And he fouls it back. He came back with a fastball. 3-2. After getting to the full count on the slider.
Going to be tough for Tollefson right now to hold up on anything that's close. That's the one thing that Grant has going for him now. You see he's choking up on the bat. He's looking to put the ball in play.
And this one dropped into right. That's going to be a fair ball just inside the line. Johnson scores, Reyes scores, and Tollefson on a fastball got it just fair up the right field line to make it 7-5 Toronto.
Well, you can see by the way that he choked up, he's just looking. This ball is off the plate away. Look at him just go out there right off the end of the bat. You're hoping that thing can slice foul. Not hit very well, but it was perfectly positioned and a few feet fair.
And with that, it's a 2-run game in the top of the 9th inning. Here's Cabrera. Pitch high. 1 ball, no strikes. Two balls and no strikes. That hit by Tollefson, the 10th of the night for the Blue Jays. We've had 21 hits in this game, and the Blue Jays now lead 7-5. Balfour behind Cabrera, 3-0. Kirby Yates, who was up earlier, will start to throw again. Three and one. Balfour trying to hold it right where it is. The Rays will have the middle part of the order starting with Geyer due up in the bottom of the 9th inning, then Longoria and Aloney. And he's just lost Cabrera, walking him, and that pushes Tollefson up to second base, and it's going to get Jim Hickey out of the dugout and on the way to the mound. So far, the only out of the inning was the strikeout of Francisco. So 2 runs have scored and 2 men on base. Coming up, Rays Live, the postgame presented by Checkers. Big blast by Sean Rodriguez in the 7th that tied the game. We'll have Joe Maddon's press conference and interviews from the clubhouse. Rays trying to prevent further damage by Toronto in the top half of the 9th inning.
First baseman, Jose Bautista.
And here is Jose Bautista. Bautista drove in a run with a fly ball to right in the 3rd. Picked up a leadoff single in the 8th. He is 1 for 3 officially. The pitch is a strike. Well, how ironic is it that Dan Johnson, who hit that big pinch hit home run for the Rays in game 162, comes back to play his first game here. Didn't play when he was here with the Orioles, but he's in this game. Does not have a hit tonight, but 4 walks. Has scored 3 of the 7 runs tonight, including the tie-breaking run in the 9th inning right here. It made it 6-5. It's a 7-5 game now. Into the dirt. That one skips up the right side, halfway up the first base line, and the runners advance. Tollefson to 3rd. Cabrera up to 2nd on a wild pitch. And that's going to pull the infield up again with men at 2nd and 3rd. Two balls, 2 strikes.
Boy, it's been a struggle here for Grant in this half inning. Struggling with command. Kind of indicative of the year that he's had. At times very, very good. At times not so good.
Looper into short right. Here comes Zobrist. He can't get there. 1 run is in. Tollefson crosses the plate. Cabrera goes to 3rd. It's a 3-run game now, 8-5. Bautista driving in his 2nd run of the game.
And at times excruciatingly frustrating. Not a bad pitch at all there by Balfour off the end of the bat, and just lays this little bloop out there Ben cannot get to it.
Great effort by Zobrist, but he could not quite get there. Balfour departs. Back in a moment. Blue Jays have scored 3 to break a 5-5 tie. Kirby Yates is the new Rays pitcher. Their 5th of the night. Balfour works a 1/3 of an inning. Gives up 3 hits, a couple of walks. So far 3 runs, and is responsible for 2 men on as he departs. And Deanna Navarro will be the hitter. Navarro 0 for 4. And Yates misses first pitch slider. 1 ball, no strikes. It's a fastball and a strike, 1-1. 8-11-0 for Toronto, 5-11-0 for the Rays. That's a strike. It's 1-2. Still the ball, 2 strikes. Blue Jays have scored 3 here in the 9th. It's out of play. Boston scored 5 in the 6th in Houston. The Astros with a run in the bottom of the 6th. That's 8-2 Boston. So the news is not good there. Orioles beat the Yankees 3-2. Out around his feet. It's 2-2.
You never want to drop a game. Obviously, this game obviously not over, but it's that thought of dropping this game, falling behind Boston once again. You were a couple of games, game and a half at least, up on them. They've won the last few.
Yeah, you fight so hard to pass them, and you think at least entertain the possibility that you're within striking distance.
You get that games back into single digits. You pass the team. You're focused on the team ahead of you. Last thing you want to do is drop back double digits and back into the basement. And that's barring a tremendous comeback here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Once you get there, that's what is potentially staring the Rays in the face.
3-2. Navarro fouls this one away. Bautista on the move off first. Foul ball. So this will turn out to be at least a 10-pitch at bat here for Navarro with a full count. Again. Pop fly, not too deep to right. Zobrist is there making the catch. That's out number 2. So a 10-pitch at bat, and Navarro's finally retired for the 5th time tonight.
Yeah, and you know what? You keep Cabrera at third because there just was no depth on that fly ball. Save yourself another run, but boy, nothing has been easy in this inning for the Rays.
Mastriani 0 for 2 after replacing Reimold.
And be careful on a
actually
pitch.
1 for 2. Braves tried to make him 0 for 2. That's a strike. Fly ball, right field. Zobrist there. 8 men come to the plate. 3-run score for Toronto. The Rays will have Geyer, Longoria, and Loney 2 up. may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Tampa Bay Rays. Well, Casey Jansen is on. 13 of 15 in save situations, and he throws a strike to Brandon Guyer. Blue Jays with a 3-run ninth inning to take an 8-5 lead. And the Rays need some base runners.
Well, and if they're going to get him off Jansen, they're going to have to earn them themselves 20 innings of work. He has just one walk on the season. He is a strike thrower, so be ready to swing.
That puts Guyer down in the count 1-2. Chopper to short. Reyes makes the throw to first. So that's one gone in the ninth. Evan Longoria drove in a run with a fly ball in the first, walked and scored in the seventh. Officially nothing out of 2 tonight. Here's ball 1. The Rays have tied it in the 7th. And a strike. The Blue Jays sent 8 men to the plate in the top of the ninth inning to score 3. One and 2. Makes that catch. 2 gone.
With Jansen, he just moves the ball around the zone. You know, he never lets you get comfortable. He's not overpowering, but very effective. Fastball, he'll cut it. Cut it quite a bit. That was actually a front door cutter to Evan on the fly ball to right. Curveball.
Well, the Rays tied it in the 7th inning with a 2-out, 3-run home run. 2 outs here in the 9th inning. Tony fouls it back, strike 1. So they are desperately in need of some base runners now.
You want one shot. You want to find 2 guys on. The Rays have done that all night. 2 outs, nobody on, and they've got something going. Need to do it one more time.
It's a ground ball foul.
That's exactly how they got the last, 2 outs, nobody on. They take advantage of a couple of walks, and then Sean Rodriguez pops one out of here. They're going to need Lightning to strike again.
Two outs, bases empty. 2 strikes to count to Loney. And a chopper back over the mound. Reyes there, and this game is over. The Rays go down in order in the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Blue Jays win this one 8-5. 3 runs in the top of the 9th inning. The difference in this game. Back with the totals in a moment.